All right, welcome to T-Dubs. This is Things We Watch, TWW. And this entire 2 weeks, we're watching the FIBA World Cup, which takes place here in Manila, the Philippines. I live in Cubao, and one arena is over there. Unfortunately, I've not been able to make it to any games over there because my office is here, which is a 5 to 7 minute walk to Mall of Asia Arena, which is where the other two groups that are playing here in the Philippines are based. So yesterday, I managed to walk over and catch the games between New Zealand and Mexico. And we'll talk about that first. And then afterwards, we'll talk about the matchup between Jordan and Egypt. So if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. Click the thumbs up button and comment the flag of your country that you support if you would like to help out the channel and you do appreciate this content that we've been making here. All right, so Mexico versus New Zealand. Unfortunately, I was a little bit late. I had work to finish here, and when I walked over, I missed the haka from the New Zealand team. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to see that again at some point in the tournament. So I was a bit bummed out to see that, but luckily my seats were upgraded. I got some really good seats in the third row of the lower box. So very good seats. Great position to watch the game, and the people who I was seated with were actually not fans of any team. Some of them had traveled from different parts of the world. Some of them were sponsors, and they were just there to watch basketball. It was not about supporting one team or the other. So it was nice to just sit down and enjoy some good basketball being played. On that side, I had some high hopes for Team New Zealand. Again, I wasn't supporting either team, but I had some high hopes for Team New Zealand, having seen how they played throughout the tournament. This dude, Ili, is a really good point guard, and Delaney, great shooter, great scorer on that team. Very much almost a pure scorer. But this Mexico team was something else. And I do say we weren't sitting with any particular team, but because we were behind the Mexico bench, a lot of the supporters in our section were cheering for Team Mexico. So there were a lot of flags. It was actually lots of fun. A lot of Mexicans in our area. Basically, maybe half the Mexican population of Metro Manila came out to watch this game on a Thursday afternoon. That team, they had this point guard named Paul Stoll. Never heard of this guy. And he shows up on the court. He's like this tall and 37 years old, salt and pepper hair. And you can see like the way his muscles are built. He plays like an older dude. But this dude is incredible. In fact, I think that he would have been the player of the game, the TCL MVP of the game, if it was not for this other dude, Paco Cruz, number 9, plays in the EuroLeague, who's also incredible. So this entire game was just kind of this matchup of not this matchup, but this display of the Mexicans' ridiculous point guards. And because these dudes could control the pace of the game so well, both Stoll and Cruz, they could also drive these incredible passes to cutters, which completely made the offense so unpredictable. They both scored really well shooting from 3. And even though they're, especially Stoll was a tiny guy, total size mismatch. This guy had no fear. He'd just take shots over bigger defenders from the 3, or he'd shoot from like 4 feet behind the line just to give himself space. And because his touch is so good, his ability to control the ball through the air is so good, it didn't matter. So that was an awesome display. And they also had a center named Ibarra, who's a big, strong guy who New Zealand simply had no match for. Like, the New Zealand group is a talented young bunch of Kiwis. They call them the Tall Blacks. I was cheering for them in the middle of the game, mostly because I wanted the game to become more interesting and more, a bit tighter of a matchup. And they did make some runs, but they were never really close to challenging, I would say, New Zealand. Like, there was no chance at not New Zealand to challenging Mexico. There really was no chance that Mexico was going to lose that game because of these two guys who were completely able to just, under pressure, control the flow of the game. True point guards. Now, the thing that I really like about the World Cup is that it allows for guys like this to be in the spotlight, right? Because most of the time we're watching the NBA and you have teams. I mean, think about the NBA. There's 30 teams. There are only 30 starting point guards. There's only 30 backup point guards. And then when they empty the bench, maybe these guys deserve to be there, but are you really going to get a contract if you're 35 years old? Even if you are an incredible point guard, are you really going to get a veteran minimum or any kind of contract to sit on the bench at this age, despite the fact that you can box with the big boys? So that's one of the cool things I thought about this tournament. It allows us to see some really good professional players who are not stars, but they play like stars. And I think that gives a lot of hope. I was talking a bit earlier in the previous stream about Gilas. And, whenever Gilas faces adversity, the Philippine public starts saying things like, oh, that's why we should spend all of our money on soccer. That's why we should spend all of our money on tennis. And I love those sports. I actually love watching almost all sports. I love watching curling, just so you understand. Like, I'm just a fan of talent and skill being displayed. And while I do like those sports, it's so undeniable that people love to watch basketball. The passion and the spending of the Philippine public is in basketball. And it's not fair to tell people what they should and shouldn't love or spend their money on. So as long as consumers are spending on basketball, the Philippine sports community, basketball bodies, should continue to fund basketball. And sponsors will continue to fund basketball because that's what drives the economy. Now, with that aside, the number one thing that people say is that we're not built for it. We don't have the size for it. And you look at these Mexicans and they're built almost just like us, right? Like, they're small and fast and like wiry, but the hustle is there, right? The culture is there for some great basketball. I remember during the Blank Canvas Collective, which was one of my first projects with Nike. This was in 2018. We got a deck, right, for the campaign, which is called Battle Force. And Battle Force was for countries where basketball was very popular. It was a Nike push with Air Force One, where basketball is very popular in countries with what I would describe as concrete and outdoor street ball being the primary driver of that sport in those countries. And Philippines was one of them. There was one in Australia. I can't remember if it was Sydney or Adelaide, one of those cities. There was Tokyo, and then there was CDMX, or Ciudad de Mexico, right? And these guys play like very, very organized street ball players. You take them and you put them on this hardwood court, and it makes for such a dynamic experience because, like, you see a lot of, as I've described previously, this Euro-style multi-pick passing, hockey, assist, FIBA basketball, Euroball. And they weren't playing any of that. Like, they did have some hockey assist, but most of it was kind of this beautiful mess of cutting and running around and the ball just finding its mark, whether it be in the corner, by the basket. That was some beautiful basketball. And it was chaotic, beautiful basketball. And I think it's something that we could emulate. It works really good for smaller guys like the Philippine teams. And I thought it was a great learning experience for me, just watching these teams and watching how different coaches have been executing here at FIBA World Cup. I think that those are all my thoughts for Mexico versus New Zealand. All right, I do want to catch a haka at some point. All right, let's move on to the next game. So A short note, between the games, you do have to exit the arena. So there's a 4 o'clock game, there's an 8 o'clock game, but after the 4 o'clock game, they empty the arena, they make you go outside, and there's no way to get from the exit back to the entrance. I had to go and buy tickets, so I went to the ticket booth, and you can't make it back to the entrance without walking through monsoon rain. It was ridiculous. I was wearing Union 4 Jordans. So I was kind of upset, or Union Jordan 4s. So I was kind of upset that they would make us walk through the rain. Now, eventually, when enough of us built up by one of the outside gates, and we're saying, hey, guys, come on, you're going to make us walk into this rain when the door is right there. The security guys eventually, after like 15, 20 minutes, let us walk through the shaded part. But kind of ridiculous, FIBA local organizing committee, that you would let that happen, that you would make consumers and fans walk who already bought 2 tickets for that day for an event where people are not buying tickets. These arenas are empty, guys. You would make those of us who bothered to buy 2 games in one day walk through monsoon rain. You would ask us to do that. I think that's nuts, and it's something that should be fixed. All right. So game 2 was Egypt versus Jordan. And I actually bought these tickets because I wanted to see Jordan play. The country, Jordan. And the reason why is I thought that they showed a lot of fight, a lot of grit in previous games. And I thought that Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who is an NBA caliber player, definitely. He doesn't play in the NBA right now. He actually plays right here in the Philippines for TNT in the PBA. And he is a champion, I think 2-cup champion here in the Philippine Basketball Association League. Now, I have my criticisms of the PBA, but it does provide a platform for guys like Rondae. I think, based on what I've been seeing of Rondae in the World Cup tournament, is that he was playing at a completely different level from what we usually see him play at. The dude was balling out, and it was great to see him play, and that was the reason why I went. But that Egyptian team is just full of big, strong guys with very good fundamentals, lots of runs to the rim, great screens, great systems in place. And there's this dude, Mahmoud, who, beautiful basketball player, tall guy, very much a Pau Gasol style, lots of finesse, finish to the rim. This guy, I think it was Murray, who was their top scorer at TCL, MVP for that game. Also played an incredible run, and it was not superstar driven at all. Now, those 2 guys had like 20 points each, but it was very well distributed among their team. The minutes were very well distributed, and I was happy that it was an exciting game. It was close. Like the game, there were multiple ties in the game. The teams were very well matched. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson did have a few moments of magic, but did not ball out. He was not the superstar for his team. That accolade probably went this guy named Bzai, B-Z-A-I, who is this younger guy who I describe as like like this little tight, not so tall, almost stocky, built like a thumb guy who's I believe playing point guard for the team, and Rondae's playing shooting guard. I saw a lot of frustration on Rondae's face when he was calling for the ball, and they seem to also be disorganized on this day. And I think that might have cost them the game, despite an amazing effort from their center, Dwiri, who seemed to have turned his ankle at some point in the 4th quarter, but kept on playing pretty aggressively throughout the game. If they had any hope, it was going to come down to Dwiri. Unfortunately, at the end of the game, their defense really deteriorated, and you saw a lot of their full court trap backfire, leading to very, very easy fast break layups. I think they had 2 of them. Full court passes being intercepted. Like, that team just spiraled, fell apart. And it was quite sad because we were seated behind the Jordan bench. I was also in the 3rd row of lower box. So I had some great seats. And because we were behind that row, all of the Jordanians came out and were there. Not the most conscientious fans. A lot of flags being held up and people behind us shouting at them. because they were blocking the view. But at least they showed up with fire and passion for their country. And it was a bit sad to see them so demoralized at the end of that game, because it got really close. It was tied throughout a lot of the third and fourth quarter, and at the end of the fourth quarter, it just fell apart. It was a mix of Egypt turning on the Jets, this Matze guy, Mare guy, just turning into a star, and a lot of the full court game for Jordan just falling apart. They fell behind by double digits, and we saw a lot of these Jordan guys, these Jordanians in the crowd, just take off their hats and and look like they were gonna cry. So it was quite an emotional experience, and the kind of experience that you can only get watching live sports and live basketball. So great experience. Congratulations to all the teams for making it this far, and for playing for your country. Whenever I see players on the street, I make sure that I tell them that they played well, and I salute them for what they've done and how far they've come. And today, this afternoon, we're going to run over and catch Team USA versus Montenegro, which is a upper bracket game, an upper group game. So that should be a competitive matchup. USA's blowing out a lot of teams, but I think with the bigs over on this Montenegro team, I believe that's who is that? I think that's Valanciunas on I might be wrong. One of the big V's is on that team. I think that their defense should be a factor in this game, and I'm hoping that this won't be a blowout. I do have general admission tickets to this game and to the one after that, which is, who is it? Game after would be Lithuania versus, let's look it up. Gotta look it up. Lithuania, Friday, September 1. We have Lithuania versus Greece. So we've seen Greece play already. The Papagiannis guy is really good. And other notable games today, we have Spain versus Latvia. Will be a good matchup. Serbia versus Italy. So Serbia is playing Italy here in Manila. I believe that's in Arnetta Coliseum. And then Canada versus Brazil. That's going to be a blowout for sure. Slovenia versus Australia. All right. So that is of note. Slovenia versus Australia. The way that the brackets have worked in Japan, Slovenia is going to have to go against Japan. In Japan, Slovenia is going to have to go up against both Australia and Germany. And only two of those teams, I believe, are going to make it to the Manila leg. So fingers crossed. I'm actually really hoping that it's going to be Germany and Slovenia. One, because I really want to see Luka Doncic. I have a secret hope that they're going to have a Jordan event for Luka Doncic in Jordan, Manila. I'm just hoping for that. If that opportunity does arise. But I also really want to see Danny Tyson and Dennis Schroeder play, because they've had a very dynamic tournament, despite the fact that Josh Giddey has also been quite interesting to watch. All right. So that's it for our show today. Thank you so much for watching. I did a stream earlier about Gilas Pilipinas and hope for them. So if you do appreciate this content, do click like and subscribe. I do appreciate you guys watching. I've been looking at the analytics, and while this has not been our most popular show, we are getting a lot of views from a lot of different countries, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you guys good luck, good health, wins in all of your games. Go Gilas Pilipinas. Peace.